Hi guys.
Hi.
So we're with Raffy Froilan and Mika Fabella. So it's for FA 104, so the creative professional. So basically, thanks for agreeing to talk to me and my former students in class.
Thank you.
So I told you guys we're here basically to talk about most of the students are in the creative fields. Some are writers, some of them are designers, some of them are video editing, some are performers. Basically, what they want to find out, what I want to talk to you guys about is your own, how you guys got your careers, what the experiences you have both as freelancers, as people who want to start their own business, be your own bosses, but also being in the creative fields. So, could you guys give me a background about yourselves? How did you get into the different fields that you're in right now? Go ahead.
Wait,
Yeah, Mika first.
this is a little complicated.
Yeah.
So, well, as you know,
Yeah.
my background is in dance. I started dancing in Bali, Philippines. I now work in eSports, and how I got there is I'm not quite sure. But I think it was really just jumping at any opportunity that could present itself. From dance, I got into a little bit of writing. From writing, that got me into a little bit of film and production. And from behind the camera, that got me into a little bit of on-camera stuff, and that eventually landed me into being a courtside reporter for TV5. And because I enjoy video games, they put me in esports. So that's kind of how, a little far-fetched, but that's how it went there. But I think that's also an example of how a very diverse set of skills in one field you can translate to other fields as well.
How'd you wrap it?
So my dad is a filmmaker and videographer, and growing up, he used to take me to his work to assist him,
Yeah.
and that's when I got introduced to the field of filmmaking and videography. And then college, my course was in mass media in LaSalle, and then I went to digital filmmaking in CSB. And then from then on, I just stuck through it and ventured into filmmaking. And then I met Mika through when I directed my first full-length documentary, and we worked together there. That's how I got it.
So for you guys, when you were deciding, how important was it that you had to be in these fields that you're interested in, like video or video mechanics? You had to do a shift basically from performance, but you had your other interests like gaming stuff and geek stuff. So how, for people like you, how important is it that your interests are part of your everyday career?
For me, it's very important actually. It's what drives a lot of my choices, especially career-wise. Mostly because when I was still dancing, when I wasn't working yet, the group of people around me that I surrounded myself with were geeks, and we're also working in with some kind of relation to their passions and to their interests. And so when I started looking for work, I thought that if they can pursue their interests and work at the same time, why not? So like Raffy and I used to say, if you're going to exert this amount of effort for something that you're not passionate about versus working for something that you are passionate about, then why not just do a win-win scenario? So that's why I choose to always go for something that I'm interested in, that I'm not passionate about, because working is not easy, even if it's in gaming, even if it's something related to something that looks like fun, it is still work. So in order to be able to pull through that every single day, I think you have to have some kind of love for what you're doing every day.
Is there that thing? Like some of my students, one thing we talk about is there's always I share with them myself. Like you guys, I found ways to make my interests, my hobbies into part of my career. But there's always the danger that the thing that you love, it more than your work becoming like your passion feels like work. How do you find that balance? That you suddenly, oh my gosh, gaming's not just love, or I'm doing videos now, nakapagod na siya. It doesn't go the other way. Instead of making work seem to be more fun, it makes what was fun now seem like work.
Oh,
Actually,
it's really hard.
It's an interesting question because so when I started, actually, I didn't take videography or filmmaking seriously up until I took a chance in 2013 or late 2012, something like that. Took a chance. I got my first camera, and then I went to Bali, Philippines. Luckily, I had access to Bali, Philippines, like freely. So I went to Bali, Philippines. I asked the then artistic director if I could experiment, take videos of the rehearsals. So I did that, and then I came up with a video, gave it to them, and artistic director really liked it and enjoyed it. And I was just really experimenting. It was out of fun. I wanted to test like certain editing ideas and all that. And when they liked it, and I found passion in that, that's when I started considering, hey, maybe this is a career path for me. Going back to your question, after 5 years of doing that, it became kind of really tiring. Like I got bored with it. I couldn't find any ideas. It wasn't challenging me anymore, so I got a little bit burnt out in that. So what I did was I was lucky enough also again to be able to have the opportunity to work with a studio, Prodigy Ace. So that it was the same field. It was still video and filmmaking, but it was it was more corporate, and that was interesting on my end because after 5 years or so of doing like artistic shots and all this, corporate was very rigid. It has to be boarded. There's a script, strict to follow, and so that re-energized me into it saved me from a burnout area.
It's like the constraints actually of being a professional. Actually, you found it more energizing actually than
it was challenging kasi. So it was in the same field but different.
Application.
Application of it. So the challenge reignited my passion for it.
I agree. I mean, I think if you're working in a field that you're passionate about, work is still work. It will get tiring. It will get. I mean, like I haven't had the opportunity to play games ever since working in games, which is the most ironic thing. You ask anybody who's working in eSports or gaming, and they'll actually say, "I haven't been able to play anything at all." But the thing is because you do love it, you are passionate about it. Even if it gets tiring, even if it gets bored, like Raff said, you will eventually find something that's there to challenge you. And I think every day you can still do that. As opposed to something that you might not be interested in as much, it'll be harder to find that spark. That's something that you love. But I think if it's something that you're passionate about, then those things will come a little more easily, and you just have to keep on finding that every single day.
Plus, being in corporate for a while now, I kind of miss already doing the artistic stuff. So right now, I want to go back to the artistic. So yeah.
So like both of you, so in corporate, were you working for them as an employee? Or
No, freelancer.
Freelancer. Because like part of the things we talk about in our class, we tell the students that there are different paths you can take, whether it's an employee, as a freelancer, or start your own business. Like Raffy, you're planning to start your own business. You as a freelancer, basically you are your own business also. But for example, you Mika, when you were with a company like Valley Philippines, so basically you rally down like my wife. When you're a company member, you're like an employee. Basically, whatever they say goes, you just follow. Did you ever work as an employee, Raff?
No.
So you're from freelancers straight,
Yeah.
What was the transition like for you, Mika? Like transition from being a company member, working for a company where they said everything to be a freelancer. What was the shift like? And Raff, for you, like now you say that you're not planning to start your own production company and all that. How do you perceive the shift being from doing a freelancer and now having to have a company where you may have employees and other people? How do you imagine the shift in life being or in your working style being?
I think like we do agree that some corporate experience is necessary. Like maybe a couple of years or 3, because I only felt the shift was necessary when I was working full time actually around 2017. And then there was a certain point where people started approaching me as an individual. And when that reached a sort of critical point, and I realized that I would be benefiting more from these individual opportunities rather than just staying with the company, I realized that it was time to leave. And I think the company recognized that also, and they actually realized that it might be beneficial for them to have a connect that was out there and going around.
So you with eSports as a full
I was actually with Prodigy Ace as a full time employee, and at that time I also felt because there was a bit of a change in direction for the company. So when they took the more corporate route versus the creative, there wasn't, and they originally hired me as a creative. So when that change happened, I felt a little redundant. Like I wasn't really doing anything because there was no creative arm for me to work for anymore, and I was just there basically to come up with like scripts and the pitches and everything. And then when these individual things started coming out, it really looked a lot more appealing. And I did have to evaluate, sit down, do the math, and like is this really worth it or something. But when I really put myself out there and decided, okay, I'm going freelance, those opportunities that were approaching me multiplied, like even exponentially, I'd say.
Well, so I've been a freelance for over 10 years now. And so recently, my business partner and I decided, what if we put up our own production company? So my business partner was also from Prodigy Ace. And while he was still working there with Mika, we were already venturing into other clients of Prodigy Ace that did not tap into. And so right now, we are starting it very slow. We don't want to. There are different types of putting up a business success, right? Like there's corporate, right? So right now we're starting very small, but we want to start well. So we're starting it with sole prop first.
Yeah.
So with that, on that regard, the transition, I think anyway, I'm not there yet. The transition won't be as drastic as we're thinking it might be, right? Because we're not looking to hire people just yet. So we're still gonna tap we're still gonna tap freelancers, and we'll see. We'll still have the same process. Basically, just more legitimate this time around.
Why are you like bootstrapping it? But don't overexpand.
Right, not so quickly.
I think it's also a shift in the working environment. I mean, like if you told me to go freelance maybe like 10 years ago, I would have been really, really scared. But I think nowadays companies are a lot more open to hiring freelancers, to outsourcing, other things like in our in production, for example, there are a lot of companies actually outsource their production, when they have shoots and everything. And a lot of companies also outsource their writers, or a lot of companies outsource their talents. So I think it's a friendlier environment now for freelancers than it was even 5 years ago, maybe.
Actually, because the workforce right now is slowly being dominated by the new generation. I don't want to put labels, but for the sake of this conversation, millennials, right? Millennials are slowly, taking over, and it's that generation, our generation, that is more open to the idea of online meetings, online working. So freelancing seems to be a more viable option nowadays.
How do you guys with trends like that, right? Especially as a freelancer, as a small business owner, I think one of the key skills is trying to find what are these opportunities, what are these changes. So even if you're saying that finding a professional opportunity that gives you certain kinds of constraints, it gives you new challenges. How do you guys find keep yourselves aware of those challenges, or keep aware of these opportunities out there? Like if you're an employee, basically, you just wait for someone to tell you what to do, it's the job, and you just hope that the challenge will come. But here it's honest on you guys to find them. So how do you find how do you keep abreast of what the opportunities are out there?
Well, that's a really good question, and I think one point that's very important to underscore is that I don't think freelancing is for everybody. You have to have, I think, the right. You have to have a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit in you as well if you are going to be a freelancer, because you'll be marketing yourself, you'll be in charge of your own self, which is your own business at the same time. So if you are the type that's maybe just wants to sit back, relax, and just do work and everything, then maybe actually employment is better for you. And don't get me wrong, I'm actually also a little envious of that, because I would just sit back and relax and everything. But but if you're the type that will actively proactively look for opportunities and create opportunities for yourself, then maybe something like this is for you. Going back into how do we personally look for opportunities, I actually now I'm reaping the benefits of different fields and different interests that I work in, because all of these networks, even something as common as friend of a friend of a friend, all of these networks eventually actually gave me connections in the right places. But this was something that I built over several years, and I'm only reaping the benefits now. So yes, it does pay to be a little bit of a kalkarin and going around and putting yourself out there. And I think just really not being afraid to. It might be cheesy, but not being afraid to be you, because if you have it's a thing now, but like back then, the personal brand kind of thing. If people know, this is a Star Wars girl. I have a, Disney is coming out with Dream Star Wars. Get her. Even something as simple as that actually benefited me, and then and added to that personal brand of mine, which I can now reap the benefits from.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
So, like, how do you keep yourself aware of? You always have to find opportunities, challenges out there. How do you keep your mind open at you won't miss an opportunity because you're always aware.
Right. Well, so one thing that I noticed in my field anyway is that Filipinos are great at copying. If they see something, for example, in the wedding industry, right? So right when video cameras and laptops became more powerful, there's this thing called same-day edits.
Yeah.
So there's one guy, Jason Magbanwa, he pioneered the same-day edit, right? And after a year, all of a sudden, like dozens of studios could now do the same-day edits, sometimes as good or even better. So Filipinos copy, we're great at copying, but one thing that Filipinos are not really great at is being innovative. And so I think as freelancers, especially in my field, for example, innovation is very critical. When starting this company, we're entering as, we're great at doing weddings, we're great at doing coverages, we're great at doing agency materials and all that. But the question that we always want to answer is how do we differentiate ourselves? So I think that's the challenge right there. And with the help of social media platforms, the help of IG, Facebook, those platforms really help us get into the trend, into the mindset of people. And actually, if we're clever enough, we can actually forecast what the future trend will be, or even actually spearhead a certain trend. So I think, like with the new generation of workforce and freelancers out there, the tools are ready. Tools are out there. It's just it's how to be creative and innovative and clever, and marketing yourself or your product or your company in creative ways.
What I'm seeing now is basically it's getting yourself out there. It's a mix of a lot of personal networking, a lot of leveraging social media. How much, like for example, how much of that? A lot of people think, okay, I'm a professional developer. Of course, they try to imagine how much percentage of the days doing the actual work. How much time do you feel you have to invest in the marketing side of it? For example, checking social media, posting social media, or in keeping social, even if it's not a direct client thing, but just keeping it social, so you might do something later on. How much of your time do you think does that take up?
I basically my work has revolved around Facebook. All of communications are usually done via Facebook. If there's a project, there's an event, a group chat is created, and it's all on Facebook Messenger. So it's hard to give a definitive answer for that question because I basically live on Facebook.
It's just interview throughout the whole day.
Yeah. For when I wake up, the first thing I do is check Facebook. Not so much for socials. It's like upgrade on group chats. What is this event pushing through? What's the latest update? Do I have to update the script or anything? So because my work has kind of integrated itself into social media, I would say it's basically 100% of the time. It's for me personally, both things are you cannot work on one without working on the other.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree. I think it's you have to make it close to 100% because one, if you're in the creative field, you have to be abreast with the current trends and current situation, and the best platform for that is social media. And two, for marketing side, marketing yourself, everybody right now looks at either IG or Facebook. Interesting thing, so an editor friend of mine went into this conference or whatever. It was like a social gathering, a networking gathering thing. And he brought calling cards, vanilla calling cards. But he noticed when people talk, they now show the calling card right now nowadays is your IG, your Instagram. And that's when he realized, okay, I'm an editor, but my works are not in IG. So he started, doing 30-second clips to 10, 20-second clips, put it in IG. So now it's easier. It's like if I'm talking to you, you're a potential client, I can directly show you a snippet of my work. So yeah.
So even the portfolio itself, right?
Yeah.
It's social media, right?
Yeah. I think even like, little things that you might not think are related to work, but actually are. Like for example, I have a contact on Facebook. He might be a producer or something, and he posts a status, and I, something like, oh, I agree. Like I agree, or let's have coffee sometime. That might be like a very social media Facebooky kind of thing to do, but you might not know it. It might benefit you. They might fund the project of yours. Keeping up connections like those, which is usually like basic social media stuff. It's what social media is for. But it actually crosses over to work.
So how would you describe that's the marketing side. So how would you describe your typical day as a freelancer? How does work and everyday lives merge together? So to the students have an idea, what's it like? What's a freelancer life like?
There is no typical day.
There's no not wake up 9 and go.
Yeah. Like you'll have some days where shoot call time is 3 a.m. So you're awake at 1, having just slept at 11, and then you're shooting the whole day, and then you get home at like the same time the next day, and then you'll have days where there is nothing at all, and then you'll have days wherein, like for example, like tomorrow, for example, I'll have a shoot at TV5 at night. So my work, I'm coming from rehearsals from Carousel in the afternoon. So like I'll run over to rehearsals, then I'll run over to the studio for a shoot, and then other days I'm like, okay, you have to be online and stream this thing. So what I like about being a freelancer is that for me there is no typical day. But when it's packed, it's packed. when it rains, it pours. But yeah, I think that's part of the appeal for me of being a freelancer, because I'm not the kind of person that can handle a 9 to 5. I did it before. It really like killed my soul. So I don't like routine, because even things like I know I don't like routine. Even things like food or like going to the gym, I don't like routine. I like mixing it up. So that carries on even over to my work. I like it when my schedule doesn't look the same every single day. When it does, I start getting bored. That's when I start cluttering. So I like it when no other day looks exactly the same as yesterday or tomorrow.
So let me give an example. This was my schedule at the end of Feb. A week before the end of Feb, we were in Bohol.
Yeah.
We were in Bohol, and I had to shoot, but it was mostly family vacation. And then when we landed in from Bohol, it was like a week of, for me anyway, it was a week of me doing nothing. I was just, at home playing my video games. But right when Feb 29th hit, I went from Manila to Zambales, to Manila, to Baguio, to Manila in a span of 4 days. So, and then after that, it was edit. So that's how freelancing life is. Sometimes in 1 week you're not doing anything, and when it hits, bam. And then for another a week or two, you can rest if you want to.
Right. So how do you guys, with a wild schedule like that where everything shifts, how do you keep track of your schedule? How do you try to, how do you avoid conflicts in schedule? If you have too many clients in one day, very little in another.
I would like to say that I have a high-tech solution and I have a chart and everything, but for me, it's good old-fashioned. I write it down, pen and paper, and different colored pens. That's it. Usually, if it's blue, I know it's dance related. If it's purple, I know it's something geeky related. If it's a dark blue, oh okay, I have a TV5 shoot. It's something as simple as that. Because for me, I'm the kind of person that if I don't write it down, I forget about it. So for me, just writing things down, and like the moment I get a booking, usually when you say pencil book, I literally write in pencil. Like you might have something on this date. And then once it is booked, then I change the color. I make it pink or purple or whatever color that I use for that. And that's it. I wish I could say that I had a high-tech, savvy, solution, but it's colored pens and paper. Journal.
For video production, it's a little bit different. So when I was starting up, when I was like my first few years in the video industry, I never ever double books. Like for me, that was the most dangerous thing to do.
Right.
Up until I gathered my pool, freelancers, trusted workmates, colleagues, and all that. Once I had a sufficient enough pool of trusted colleagues, I was a little more confident in, let's say, double booking, right? So it really depends. So for example, if on day 29, for example, you have to balance the process. So if this is like an agency high profile case versus, let's say, events coverage, I would put myself in the high profile because it's, for example, I was tasked to direct this, and then I would team up my pool of freelancers to do the events coverage. So it's basically just balancing out your pool. So yeah, basically it's how I manage the delegation.
With delegation, I think that's one. Correct me if I'm wrong. One big difference between the way the way you work. Yours, you guys a lot more. It's your own personal, like experience and performance. Really, Raffy, because you can delegate. So you say, like a video production is not usually a one-man thing. With yours, now, how do you then, like when you have a team, even if it's not they're not employed, but they're collaborators and all that. When people hire you, how do you make sure that the team works, like your standards, or that it's part of your brand?
So that's why it took me a while to create a pool. Because there's certain people who I know have worked with me and know what for example, my style is and how I want certain things to be. And so if a client looks for my style, I know that these guys can execute it that way. Like these guys are flexible enough to know the differences and all that. So yeah, that's how I develop my pool. So I only have like a few trusted people that I really want to work with.
Is it hard to find people like that? Because like some of the students have asked me before, like for projects, sure, how do we find someone like, well, and then how do we deal with them or something like in terms of maybe jump ahead, like things like contracts, for example.
It's not really hard. One thing I appreciate with the younger generation. No, because most of the guys that I hire are like 25 and below.
Yeah.
And one thing that's nice about them is that they're really like sponges. They absorb everything. So actually, to answer your question directly, there's no like you can get anyone. Honestly, you guys can get anyone, but they have to work with you for a number of projects or a certain number of years or time, so they understand your workflow and understand like how you want certain things. Because everyone can be trained the minute you do. So, I think one of my basic requirements is if I work with you for at least minimum of like 5 major projects, and we have a camaraderie and chemistry and all that, then I can assign you to work for this client who knows your project.
I think it's because one of the many jobs that I do, I also work for a podcast based in the US, and they focus on female entrepreneurs, and it's a question that comes up a lot. How do you look for the right co-founder or something? It's like dating. It's finding the one. I mean, it is really hard as finding the one. Maybe even harder because I would say that there's a bit more responsibility, I think, in finding a co-founder. But a thing that always comes up in the conversation is that sometimes it's like it's just opening yourself up. Putting yourself out there, making sure you find the right people that complement you, not exactly think exactly like you, because that might not work. If you're starting a company, if you're starting a project or anything, you have to find people that complement you in just the right way. And you might find these people in the most unexpected places. They might not exactly be in your friend circle. I mean, like I've listened to a lot of founders that have even just somebody overheard them in a coffee shop and was interested in their idea, something like that. Which apparently happens a lot in like the Bay Area, San Francisco, and everything. So I would say, just being open to opportunities, but at the same time being making sure that I think it's really more of a personality thing. There's a lot of trust that goes into it, especially if it's a project that that you love, an idea maybe that you've been that you feel like it's yours 100%. But short answer is you never know. You never know, and nobody ever does.
Oh, also I forgot to mention, it's easier in my field because the final output is always relative to the editing. And usually I'm the one who edits.
You set up a final control.
Yeah, so I have final control. It can be any shooter as long as they get the correct shots.
Yeah.
So
Actually, kami similar. Yeah, yung kami sa comics is very similar. Like, I handle sometimes things like the lettering, reproduction, and sometimes even coloring. So even I have different artists, different, I can still do.
Right.
Yeah, but
fix it a little bit.
Right. Before at least you know you have final.
It's like plating, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like final plating.
So, have you guys had, aside from the successes you've had, you want to share any failures that you've had in your careers or mistakes you made that you learned from that you think others would?
Yeah, definitely.
Because like myself, as a business person, we always like to talk about like, this is I do well, but actually a lot of the things, we reach out to this, we fail a lot of things first. Oh, shucks, I wish I hadn't done this. And when we learn from these things, that's actually where we get most of our skills. So in your particular fields, what were the big, if you're willing to share, some mistakes or some failures that you think you learned the most from and shaped, how you do work now?
I'll give a minor example. Of course, being in the gaming industry, people were asking if I wanted to stream. I said, yes, of course. That's the dream job. So I invested in the hardware for it, everything, had a venue to stream and stuff. And then I found out that it was not for me. It's too, I'd say it's too extroverted for me. It's too much of a performance, an exhausting performance at that. Having to put on basically a one-man show for 4, 5, 6 hours maybe. It depends on how long you're playing. So that went on for 1 month, and then I quickly said, yeah, no, this is not working. My streaming equipment's still there. I should probably sell it or something, but
you can still use it for your personal life.
Yeah, can still use it, but basically long story short.
That's true.
Produce them na lang.
I had to set up the social media page and everything, and I found out that
it's not for you.
No, it's not working. On a more serious level, as a freelancer, of course, it's very, very beneficial if you're registered, if your business name is registered. So I did that back in 2016 when I did work for GMA. Bigger companies will usually require freelancers to have their own official receipts and everything, so I did that. And then I got employed full-time in 2017. And I made the mistake of thinking that because I was employed and they were filing my papers for me, that I didn't have to do anything. And then when I resigned in 2018, when I resigned in 2018, and I went back to freelancing, I realized I had 3 years of back taxes because I wasn't filing for those 3 years, and which resulted in painful penalties. It's not as bad as say a company would be, but it went up to 55,000, which as a freelancer living paycheck to paycheck, I was so horrified. But had to.
That could be like 1 to 2 projects right there.
Yeah. But had to pay it anyway because yes, taxes are a headache. Nobody wants to do it, but in the long run, it will really help you. Especially if you're trying to establish yourself as a freelancer, because bigger projects come from bigger companies and they all require an official receipt. So that was one mistake that I wish that I was on top of. Of course, because it cost me that much money. I would definitely tell my younger self back then, take your taxes seriously. This isn't just this isn't some kind of weird personal rebellion or something. You have to pay your taxes, and I would advise young freelancers everywhere. You have to stay on top of it.
I guess on my end, it's I think one of the lessons, mistakes.
Mistakes are lessons.
So one of the mistakes that I myself falling into often is the familiarity of everything. So for example, if you've been in the field and industry for X number of years, and you think it's like muscle memory to you. I sometimes fall into the trap of under preparing because everything's already I know how this will go in the back of my head, and then so when you under prepare that you realize, oh, should have done this or I should have done that. And, you know, sometimes you bite a little more than you can chew, sort of thing, or you're not managing expectations with your client, or sometimes you say yes to a budget and then budget like is totally inept to cover the whole. So yeah, you know, underpreparedness is biggest like mistake.
I would also say if ever you work with friends, it's easy to fall into the trap that people will just stick to their word and verbal agreements are okay.
Right.
If you're doing something as serious as starting a company, verbal agreement is never okay. So have everything on paper, even if it's between friends.
Yeah.
Like as an official professional, courtesy, have everything down on paper. If you don't understand the language of paperwork, ask somebody. Ask them what it means.
If your friend who you trust and want to work with doesn't want to have anything on paper, that's kind of a red flag. Just stay friends with them. Stay friends, don't work with them.
Yeah. That would be like one of my biggest mistakes as well. Have everything on paper.
You guys deal with national lawyers or just one na lang you have it you have it motorized?
What I did before was I actually asked a cousin of mine who's a lot older. I'm like, what does this mean? And she was like, she told me that that means you're not getting paid. Like who did that to you? Something like that. Something even as simple as asking somebody who might have gone through this before, who maybe has read that statement before, or if you have friends who are lawyers, which I wish I had back in college. Like if you could go back in college, I would make friends in law, accounting, law and accounting. Make friends in those departments. Make friends in those departments as well. But you can ask somebody who's older, or even if you trust this person, ask them, can you explain to me what this means? Because it sounds like to me that this is veering in this direction.
All right. Moving on from this thing, a while ago I was asking you guys about how do you find opportunities and clients? What about, have you ever turned down an opportunity that on screen? I mean, you're talking about on screen, but let's say there's a client or an opportunity what looked really good, but you decide to not take it on because you really felt that I know this is really not going to work out. Or some of their project midway through you're like, this client is worth more trouble than they're worth. And how do you break that off? Say no. How do you judge? Like maybe was there a client where it cost a lot of money? It would have been a lot of money, but it's just not aligned with your work.
Yeah.
I have a few of those.
Yeah.
There have been a lot. You want to go first?
Okay. Well, on that record, how do you deal with a client that's basically a hell client? Just for me, just finish the project, because one, you can always charge to experience. The fact that you surpass this client already adds more character, it builds character, right? So that's one. Two, portfolio. It's a portfolio.
Yeah.
Even if let's say you lost money in it, it's still your portfolio. It still adds portfolio. But opportunities that I had to say no to, there have been a few. So especially when I did my documentary, my full documentary, there were two opportunities I had to say no to, and looking back, I would have made more money. Right? So one has nothing to do with my field.
Yeah.
So I was also, this was in 2013. Right? I was also part of a band, and our band was pretty big now. We were already we were doing resorts, world gigs already, and all that. At the same time, I was also doing freelance videography, and I had to make a decision. My band got accepted into a cruise, so that means abroad.
Yeah.
But I also won a grant to create my full-length documentary, and so I chose to do the documentary. So right now, my band has been to 70 countries and are earning millions or whatever. So that's one choice I had to do. But I stuck to the field that I was more comfortable with, which is video. Plus, in the long term, this field and industry has better ladder in that sense. And then second was, again, I had to choose, in the same field of mine, I had to choose between doing my documentary or becoming head of an up-and-coming advertising firm. They were looking to create an in-house video sub-company, and they wanted me to head that. but I was in the midst of already doing my documentary, so I didn't have time to do this. So I chose my documentary again, and then the company, sadly, the owner passed away. So we didn't go anywhere. So yeah, those are the two choices that I had.
Well, as a freelancer, as a racketista, there are a lot. There are a lot that, like, especially if you have, like, for example, a conflict in schedule or something, and it is really, really hard not to give in to the temptation that if something comes along and it pays more money than what you already said yes to, it is so hard to turn it down. But the thing is that the thing that you have to know also, and I'm talking to myself as I say this also, is that if you suddenly backtrack on this lesser paying one, even though you committed to it, and go for the the one with more money, that is also marring your name.
Yeah.
So that is
Integrity.
not integrity wise. It's like
That's very crucial for a freelancer.
yes. Word will get around. Word will get around that you flaked on this one, you went for this one. Somehow people talk. It doesn't do well for your reputation if you do that. So although turning down a big amount of money for something that you might have booked on the same day that doesn't pay as much sounds like in the short term a loss. In the long term, it is not, because word will get around that, like, hey, she's good to work with, she's solid, she's reliable. But yeah, it was hard, especially when I was starting out, because when I was starting out as a freelancer, it was so easy. Oh, this pays 50,000 or something. I should go for this instead of this one that pays like only 10,000 or something. But I found out really quickly not to do that, because people will talk. Eventually, word will get around, especially if you plan on staying long term in one industry. Another thing also is that sometimes different doors will open as well, and I remember one opportunity that I had to turn down. I don't tell a lot of people this, but I was actually shortlisted for Moana in Hong Kong Disneyland. When I auditioned for Disney, right over there, Steps Dance Studio. During the callback, I was one of those that was contacted. And they're like, we're interested in getting you a space character. Space character meaning the actual princess, which according to my friends that work in Disney, actually get paid the most. So I would have a dream job working in Disneyland and everything, being a professional princess, but at the same time, there was this casting call for TV5 saying, hey, we're looking for eSports casters and commentators and reporters. And I went to that audition. And this almost happened at the same time. I got a call back for the eSports thing, and I also got a call back for Disneyland. And I really had to weigh my options. Because going to Disneyland would mean uprooting everything, starting fresh in a whole other country, definitely with a lot more money. And then the opportunity to build something as a freelancer independently here in the Philippines. So obviously I didn't go for Disneyland. At the same time you can always look back, but it never helps. You made a decision. What's that gonna do except for wistful, I could have been this, I should have been that. But it's done. So happy where I am now. In any case, it led to a whole lot more exciting things, and I did end up going to Disneyland anyway, but as a guest.
Okay, I want to add this, but can you repeat the question? I just want to make sure it's still in line with something.
Yeah, so basically, were there clients or opportunities where you felt that you turned down, or you felt,
Okay, so
how do you do it?
I think it's a little bit more flexible on the production side, especially if you have a pool already of network people that you trust, right? There's a saying, right? You shouldn't like stick to it literally, but there's saying there's three options to choose to, right? Was cheap, fast, or good, right?
You can't get all three.
You can't get all three. Two. But sometimes, again, as Mika said, integrity is still, as a freelancer, still the highest value. If you say yes to a cheap and fast, you have to do it cheap and fast. Sometimes there were times where, for example, there's no project, and a friend would come up to me, heavily discounted rate, and say yes to it. And because it's a friend, because I can talk to this friend in a relationship, I can always say, hey, do you mind if I push back project a little bit more, a major client just came in and I have to focus on this, then yeah, that's okay. They understand. But if it's a project with a client that you don't really know, and you have to be professional with them, you have to be professional with them. So like I think integrity is still trumps like 50,000 pesos more.
Right.
For me, it's,
Integrity and accountability as well. I mean, if you made a mistake, double booked or anything, and you're caught, there's something you can do about it. But come clean. Tell them, maybe offer to help find a replacement or something to help fix it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
the best way to remedy that is again expand your network. So if I have to edit something and a client comes in that is a good opportunity, even if I'm going to take significantly less, I will look for an editor who has the same style who I trust to head this project. So at least the client's still with me, even though I take significantly less. At least it's a thing.
Yeah, so I think that's right. Integrity, accountability, and transparency. Transparency as well. I mean, you have to be as honest as you can. I think, especially as a freelancer. Like I said, word gets around eventually.
Well, can I segue to, since we're bringing up the things like fees, there's one thing that, I think most freelancers also, people are asking about is people wonder, how much do you charge for certain things? How do you think, like, coming as a graphic design, it's always one of the best kept secrets. Nobody knows how do you charge? You charge per project, per hour, per ganyan, diba? I'm not going to ask you guys how you charge all that, but for example, in your fields, like, how secretive is it, or do people kind of know what the grades are? And how do you avoid? Because there's that danger that everyone's just trying to undercut each other.
Yeah.
And since we don't have a union in any of our fields, like kami, something this guy's gonna charge like 500 pesos for that. So how am I charging that? So how do you guys deal with that?
First of all, I'm so annoyed that we don't have unions. I'm so annoyed. So annoying. I would say that, of course, the reply of every freelancer is that it depends. And it's not just like a negotiating thing, but because it really, really does depend. Creative endeavors are obviously a lot more friendly and negotiable than corporate endeavors. Usually when people say corporate, there is a set, people know there's a budget for it, and will charge considerably more, maybe 2 or 3 times the amount that they will charge a creative entity, maybe even 4 or 5 times, depending on what it is. For say hosting, for example, if it's a whole, like for example, TV5 gets me as producer for a whole season, they will charge me a less amount per season. Like they charge me 5,000 for producing 1 hour, a 1 hour show. But that is like a guaranteed set amount for the whole entire season. So they might get that, like my bulk, and then and to be fairness, TV5 is probably the most chill production that I've ever had to work with. So I feel like I'm not even working anywhere. And then you will have, of course, corporate entities where they'll have like a 1 minute or a 30-second just for writing that you can charge, like you mentioned, you can charge 50,000 or you can charge 40,000 for that. Sometimes what we find we end up doing is that we'll ask for a budget, and then from that budget we work backwards. Okay, then how small is the crew and everything, and then
we balance it out with, okay, this is your budget, but this is what you want. You're not gonna get this unless you increase this.
And then we ask yourselves as well, are you okay with working on this ad for like a budget of this much? If not, maybe you can find somebody else. That's when the network comes in also. Maybe there's somebody who needs the money more, needs the experience more, or something, willing to work for that much, and you can go get a bigger project later on.
Okay, so I think if you're a fresh grad, you're starting out, I think like you shouldn't be concerned about the pricing just yet. I hate that I'm saying this because we usually lose out to students because they charge either 0 or 1%, right? But it's important for you to build your portfolio first. In fact, even at this day and age, even at where I am right now, I am still willing to do certain shoots for free, especially if they're new. If I haven't done them from a company. So, like for example, right now I'm thinking about doing like food shoots around audition. I'm willing to do it for 50% off or zero, just so I can get my hands into it. And then from there, that's what I'll charge. But you shouldn't. I think the number one thing is you shouldn't devalue your skill. So, but if you're really good at it, off the bat, let's say you're a fresh grad, charge already. I mean, you're good at it. If they want you, they want you. So
That's true, and I think also like something that's a factor in like on camera work is see if there's an exclusivity clause. Because like for example, one thing that happens with I see a lot of talents that will say yes to digital ads. For example, say yes to a real estate ad, it's a digital ad, and then it's for like 5,000. But what you don't realize you're saying yes to is that they say there's no lockout. They say there's no lockout period, which means that even if you shoot with us, you can still do ads with like let's say company X or company B and everything.
So it's not their competitor.
Yeah. So that's true. Legally you can, but the part that's not on paper is that since your face has already appeared in the ad itself, companies won't get you anyway.
Yeah.
Companies won't get that anyway. So try to make sure that there is that you are guarding yourself in that sense, that you are compensated for the amount of work that you will lose should you go for this certain project, especially if it's like if for example if your face is appearing in a print ad or on a TVC, how long is it running for, how long can they use it for, and how much work will you be losing out on because you are appearing in that ad.
It's interesting, like you're saying, for example, Raffy, because that brings up the topic of do it for the exposure. That's always the big. And obviously, you shouldn't. But you're saying there are certain situations where it actually does work. And like I tell my students, you have to be strategic about it.
Yeah.
So how do you judge? Okay, this is something where I feel it will benefit. And it's a legitimate marketing expense. It's a big money I pay my time and effort.
okay, so you look at the industry or the field. For example, so let's say your group of students put up their own company, right? And they want to go into, let's say, the ad agency route, right? I suggest that you charge already because you're not the pioneers of it. Right? There are competitors already. So why would you shoot yourself in the foot by charging free? If you're confident enough that you can deliver, charge already. That's my point. So for example, like the food thing. As far as I'm concerned, when I go to IG and publish like nobody has videos of food, for example, right? So I'm kind of entering a field that I want to introduce, and so I can afford to do it for free once, so that I plant the seed, and then people realize, hey, that's right, it works. Like I can, like because of your video, I'm getting more clients, for example, right? So, but if somebody else is already doing it, if there are IG videos already of food, and they've been charging already, why would I come in free? It's like, I could probably come in cheaper, but not for free. That's why, for example, when I did videos from Bali, Philippines, I was probably the first. Bali Manila never had videos yet, so I could do it for free because it was a trial and error sort of thing. They liked it, and it worked. Right now, we're still doing videos. So
Yeah, I hate the term for exposure because of course it's a thorn in the side of every creative and a professional, I would think. But I don't want to think of it as more of for exposure because undoubtedly you will have projects like that. And sometimes the exposure really is good. It really is for good exposure. It's more of like I would think for investment. Like think about it as like, are you willing to invest your time and your effort in this, and will you actually see the returns of it? Within a suitable amount of time for you. So, for example, if you have like if you have this opportunity that says, we're not gonna pay you that much, but for exposure or something, you'll be on like nationwide TV, or you'll get this lovely recurring job that will get you for the whole season, something like that. Think of it as on your side, not for exposure but for investment. Are you willing to invest your time and effort in this, seeing that it will give you more opportunities in the long run? So I think it will yield smarter decisions if you think of it as for investment rather than for exposure, because sometimes for exposure gives you a kind of a sense of just commercially whoring yourself out there. If you're investing something, it kind of gives you the sense that you have something to lose.
Such a good term. Yeah. So again, going back to my example in the food, because I'm investing in it. That's why I'm doing it for free first.
Right.
Because I want to see where the investment.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good term because basically we say it's for exposure. The assumption that exposure you paid already, you already got the benefit.
Yeah.
But it's investment is that the benefit is still going to come.
Yeah.
You still have to kind of
Right.
check on it.
Right. So, and for exposure, kind of like hints that you have nothing to lose.
Right.
You do have something to lose.
Right.
You do have something to lose.
So, well, I think that, like Raffy, you mentioned a while ago, we were talking about certain opportunities you felt like pass up and all that. But are there opportunities? What about opportunities where you felt it's something it's not quite in my wheelhouse, but still I'll give it a shot. But I'll fake that I make it. How do you? A lot of times that's a way to expand. Like I've done projects, but they asked me before, oh, can you do an app? I was like, I'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll kunwari na lang, diba? You kind of learn on the job. How do you? Have you done projects like that? And how do you navigate?
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially, for example, there are certain projects that people expect that you know how to do because you've been in the field for so long now. So, so what I do is, if let's say I have little or zero experience in it, I build my team around the project who have a lot of experience on it. So what happens is it's just IPR. They're actually doing the work, and I'm just doing the PR, or the client interface. That's one. Two is you be truthful, manage expectations. So there are a lot of projects where I have to take it till you make it.
I have this big smile on my face. Just fake it till you make it is my motto. it's basically my motto. I mean, like, the whole eSports thing was was me faking it till I made it. And I made it.
You take a risk.
Yeah. I mean, like, a friend posted recently about, like, fake it till you make it. Is that actually a good advice, or is that you shooting yourself in the foot? And somebody actually said, you know what, in this day and age, it actually is really, really good advice, because part of it, part of marketing yourself as an entrepreneur is how you present yourself. First of all, make sure that you can probably deliver and you're willing to give it a shot. Like Raffy said, managing expectations is like, hey, I don't actually do on-camera work, but if you think there's something in me, I'll give it a shot. If they're willing to give you a shot, then you do it, and then you find yourself in a commercial or something, which is like what happened to me. So I would say definitely fake it until you make it, but not to the point that you're gonna harm individuals, money or bank accounts or something. I mean, like, don't tell them to invest in something or to that point. But if it's more of if you are given the opportunity, but you feel like it's not in your skill set yet, but you're given the opportunity and they're like saying, hey, you wanna come in and join us? Don't turn the opportunity down. Give it a shot. Give them a chance to. You never know what skills you might be unlocking by faking it until you actually
that's
make
true.
it.
Yeah.
When it comes to we were talking a while ago about charging. When it's nice, we build the project completed. The other big issue is collection. That's always one. How do you guys deal with what kind of in your particular fields? How does what are the credit terms of payment like? How do you manage it? What's cash flow like? Like kami in graphic design, but they always assume wala pa kayong masyadong cash out, so
Okay, so kami, what we should do is so we have a pitch meeting first. So that's where we talk about the ideas and projected budget, right? And then let's say client and supplier agrees. So we're the supplier. What we usually do is, on contract, we ask already for 50% down. And then 50% upon completion. Right? And then, we usually don't, sometimes the client will make payments up. Okay lang ba, within completion, they give you, a series of checks instead of one-time big time. So it's really up to you. As long as everything's on paper naman. That's from my experience. So
I would
always
say
ask
that.
for down payment. I think that's my.
what is your down payment always
50 or less.
That's that industry.
50 is ideal, but sometimes because the clients can't shell out 50 just yet.
Yeah.
So
And then sometimes there are also cancellation fees. Like they cancel within,
so.
2 to 3 days.
A week before if you cancel, you have to pay 50%.
Yeah.
The full 50%.
Because that's
So 50 is your kill fee, basically.
So I would say, like, for example, like when I do hosting events, payment is usually after. If it's not, then ask your organizer, ask whoever is in charge of what are the payment terms. I mean, that's your right, of course, working for them. You have to know the payment terms. And I would say don't say yes to a project unless you know payment terms and are okay with that. Sometimes, for example, for bigger companies like TV5 pays like a month after usually. And at least I know that. I can anticipate.
It's not so bad.
Yeah.
Some of our clients are 60 days. 90
Yeah.
days.
There's some clients that are like 6 months.
Yeah.
Then getting into like the commercials,
Yeah.
the commercial side of it, you are lucky if you get paid a week after.
Yeah.
You are still lucky if you get paid 3 months after. Standard
Standard
is
6
usually
months.
for 6 to 8 months.
And there's some people who haven't been paid in years.
I like my last commercial that paid me was I shot it last, so it was like 1 year later, and we were like 2 to 2. It's been 1 year now. So yeah, it does vary. Just make sure that you know and you are prepared for those payment terms. So like there is no, I mean like just like regular billing, it does depend. But just make sure that like when the terms are presented to you that you're okay with that. And it's more of like for you, I would say as an individual, as a freelancer, is that you know how to space your finances. And if you know that there's always something to catch you. I mean sometimes being paid late benefits you. It's like, hey,
Surprise.
Yeah. It's like, wow, you got a Christmas bonus or something. Yeah. So sometimes that happens. That's a great surprise. But just make sure that there's something there always to catch you.
And sometimes, for example, if you're in the supplier end of things, so I put a clause in certain clients that I know that pay late.
Yeah.
I will not deliver unless you pay the final fee. I'll show you the final output, but I will not give it to you until you give the full bill.
Yeah, something like that. Or like, for example, for videos or something, you can always put the watermark, or not get full video, or it's not fully rendered, or it's a low-res video. Yeah.
When it comes to things like, for example, like actually revision, or like other things like revisions, also when you're performing, or like number of things, how do you factor that into your pricing?
It's always, revisions are always part of the contracts. So, for example, in editing, I'm not sure if you have it with you, but we have offline and online. So offline is more of the shot selections. Online is more of the color grading, animation, text, and stuff. So we usually have like, we give 3 revisions for offline. Meaning, we give you first pass, revise it 1, that's revision 1, 2, and then 3. And the third, that's your last. And then if you want another revision, that's an additional, let's say 5,000, for example. And then on online, ganun din. 2 revisions on online. So kasama lagi ang revisions.
It's graphic design. It's studies that we get, like 3 studies.
There you go,
yeah. And you choose a study and you 5 revisions of that study. Additional from that. Siyempre sa amin, it's easier to do multiple studies and get-go. Matrabaho sa inyo, you can make one.
Yeah. So the difference, I think, yung studies namin is in the pitch.
Yeah.
So we give you 3 ideas in the pitch. Those are studies.
Yeah.
What I would say in the pitch is we give you, Sam, I'm not sure how yours works. Kasi sa amin, like,
kami dati used to
we pitch 3, but we're not gonna get paid for it.
Yeah.
If you don't get chosen.
Right.
Yeah. I would say like currently kasi I deal with a lot of live broadcasts, so there is no revision. There is no revision, even if you sneeze on camera, which is cough on camera. But there's usually no revision. But for example, like say if you're dealing with a commercial and you mentioned like number of takes, that as an on-camera talent, that's actually on you. Like for example, like if it's totally different, like let's say they made you do this scene and it's something incredibly different, like instead of on top of a building, you're now on the parking lot, and something happens that changes your performance. That is definitely something that's covered by most talent contracts. That the storyboard and the workshop has to be set before you actually go to shoot, because it also saves time on the production side. But for example, if it goes down to number of takes, that's I would say on you as a performer. How many number of takes you're willing to do. So of course, if you just want it to be quick and done, then you have to perform your best and make sure that you know what the director's talking about.
Right, this was a little personal question now. What's it like? You guys working stuff together also?
Yeah.
What's it like when you have to work, especially both in professional projects or some personal creative projects? What's it like having to work together now? Of course, you're a couple, but then you have to work. But like me and Ria, we work on stuff together. Like before, we used to run the studio together. But then after a while, one tension we'd always have is, for example, she'd tell me na, like she'd handle like books and when there's a problem, I can't rant to you, because basically You're also my boss or my partner, so my strategy, parang you don't know about this, I get stressed, ganyan, so we can't talk about it. So parang we have those little things sometimes in the house about those.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what kind, like, when you guys work on stuff, well, it's exciting when you're on the same page, ganyan, but what are the pros and cons when you guys work together on both personal project and professional, like client project?
Yeah. Well, I would say that like definitely has its challenges, but because we also know each other so well, we know how to adjust right away. It's like it's for example, if Raffy's preparing this scene and I'm production manager for that project, I know immediately to set the next scene because I know he's running short on time and everything. So it's kind of nice knowing, and at the same time I know that he's the quality that he produces. So I know like okay, we can definitely promise time this and everything. So it's nice that we also have each other's backs, and we know that. At the same time, yes, it's true because like when we go home, there is no break. There is no break from work. Like like when we came home from our script, when we were finalizing our script and everything, we went home and we were still discussing that. We were still going through that. So
It's easy also then to say, like, okay. One challenge was there was one time I think that parang he was the director and I was just like the editor or shooter or something. But parang because we discuss a lot, and sometimes like before anyway, I got used to her deferring to me because of the direction. But then she's the director. I always forget. Oh, nga pala, wait. Title call was yours.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's still adjustments here and there. But I think basically generally. Because we bounce off each other's ideas and we're comfortable with each other's like taste in that sense, so it works well for us.
Yeah, and I think it helps also that we have different skill sets.
Yeah.
For example, like I thrive more on the production management side of it, the logistics and everything, and then he's more on the creative side and like making sure the technical side and the technical side as well. So for
We
example,
don't really cross the same.
yeah.
But the roles are very clearly delineated also.
Yes.
In charge of what?
But like for example, like right now since we're going more into making more films, you gotta make more content. Like for example, yesterday when we were fleshing out our script, we were definitely like oh the character should do this, and we're like no, I want it to be this way. No. But it's nice because we're so used to having each other as a sounding board.
Yeah.
So like even for example when clients hire me for like let's say we're producing this, producing that. I tell them that somehow in a way they're also hiring him because when I go home, eventually I'm like, oh, we did this today. What do you think of this? And he gives his suggestions also, and that's the same way also with him. Like, what do you think of this? Like for example, with all of the video edits that he does, he usually shows me first. So like that's what I usually say. Like for example, if you're hiring one, you're indirectly hiring somebody else also.
It's basically like your skill sets also find you make each other grow, but you're also sort of absorbing each other's skill sets, each other's skills also.
I would say also that's how we eventually got into freelancing as well, because like we realized that like okay, you can shoot this video. Oh well, I can plan this out. So that's also how we got the ball rolling.
You usually get her as the project manager,
right?
Yeah.
Last question, basically. So how like you guys have been talking about also doing aside from doing freelance for clients and all that, you're trying to do your own personal works, creative works, which of course I actually want to be of course successes. What's the difference in mindset you're having between doing work, so it's professional for other people, and now sort of doing something that you are going to try to manage yourself, go straight to straight to an audience rather than doing someone else's vision? How does it affect does it affect the working style, the working mindset?
Well, because I'm usually a producer, definitely affects me because when it's a creative, endeavor, like for example our own films, I always think, oh, money. Because when you do have your own individual like creative projects and everything, there's no getting away from it. You will have to shell out some of your own, whether it's your time, whether it's saying no to other projects, or whether it's your own hard-earned cash. You do have to shell out. So like on my end, that's part of it. But I also tell myself that like it's like our babies in a way. Like when actually when we talk about it, it's almost as if we're like talking about having a kid. Like, are we ready to make a new film? You think we're ready for it? So
you have to find ninongs.
We have to find it is like that. It's basically as serious and as life changing as having venturing into something like that, because you're gonna see something, you're gonna see it grow, you're gonna have to ship it off to festivals and everything. So that's a lot of your personal investment in it. When you go into working for somebody else, you just do good work and then you just call and you can tap out and say bye at the end. In your own, you know, or creative endeavor, you can't ever tap out.
Right.
Not ever. Like not even out of Manaya, not even out of, you know, or Yakap or something. You can't ever tap out, man. It's like you have a dog, you have a kid now, you have a film now or something.
Yeah.
So did you guys, for example, with those kinds of projects, like how much of it is planning out? Oh, you know, it could be an asset later on. Counts, or how much of it's you just get the artist in you now, so get this out, it doesn't matter, you know, it's money or not. Is it, you know, how? Because there's some people who, I guess, they really look at it as it's part of the professional life.
Yeah.
Others, no, this is not a break from my professional life. I just want to do something to recharge my soul. Or is it somewhere in between?
Well, I think, like, honestly, in the situation right now in the Philippines, indie films or, you know, personal project films, like what we plan on doing, we're not really, parang money is just a good bonus. Like, earning is just a good bonus. Like, I'm not sure if it's even a viable step in terms of like livelihood in that sense. So yeah, I think it's more of, I don't know, but it's more of like a thing that you want to just, you know, release.
It's definitely something that I'm currently struggling with, especially that since we're at the age right now where you have to think, okay, long term. It's definitely a question that's popped up a lot every single day in my head right now. How long can I sustain this lifestyle? How long can keep on freelancing and doing, you know, all of this? Because eventually freelancing takes up a lot of energy, and eventually you'll reach a point where you run out of energy. And how can you sustain yourself with that? You don't have tenure. You don't have tenure. You don't have other benefits that companies will eventually give. And of course it enters my head that like, okay, eventually you're gonna have to go back into corporate. But you know, right now we don't know how the landscape is going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It might change or something. But taking steps towards that at an early age is definitely some way to future-proof yourself. You know, a company might not do it for you, but it helps to have a health card, it helps to have SSS, it helps to have, you know, investments and savings, just to make sure that, you know, you have something. So when you can, you definitely should, I feel. It also helps, I think, to have, like, for example, for these creative endeavors, not just think of it as like a one-off, okay, it's there, and people watch the movie and that's it. Like, you know, included in that plan is like, when you possibly make this into a series, when you possibly do this. So trying to extend those creative endeavors to something that's also long-term, so that, you know, you still have content coming out and opportunities coming out for you as well. But then not going to lie, it's definitely something that I think freelancers everywhere right now are struggling with, and that they don't have the answer to that just yet. Concrete answer.
So, Rob, do you have any tips for any students who might want to enter the fields that you're in? Any tips you want to give them that they should be aware of?
Get an accountant.
Get an accountant.
It's a serious tip though, because for one, other than they've already heard the issue about paying taxes and everything, but I know that there are a lot of tax apps, and a lot of people who say that, oh, you can just do this by yourself, you can save money by doing this for yourself. But like, as I learned, for example, the penalty, for example, that I had at the BIR was lessened considerably, because the accountant knew somebody and he was like, oh, pakiusap na lang and everything. Those are the things that apps cannot do. Little pakiusap, little things that you hire accountants for. You know, I mean, it is part of, you know, that culture. You have, you know, you have some things that they know tax laws change all the time. You know, apps might not get updated as often or something. Or, you know, something as simple as like, kilala ko yung security guard sa BIR and everything, and he was able to get a form or something that would cost you this much. So little things like that, little things that require human interaction, I think are important in something as, you know, as so gravely important as taxes. So I would say getting an accountant over just doing it by yourself, unless you're an accountant yourself. But I would say just have an accountant. They're trained to walk through the maze that is the BIR and tax laws of the Philippines. So that's one major difference.
Trying to think of a, parang, I don't know what to give it, but okay.
Like for I want to ask you guys. So we talked about like networking, freaking clients, and all that. But you mentioned our graphic about the pitches, diba? Or we talked about audition. That's something where it's a risk in a sense because basically you have to invest now. So time it's something that you're not sure if you're going to get something out of. Diba? How important are music pitching and auditions in your experience compared to getting jobs? Something that's more sure because I have a network or referral. That you pitch often. Like me, honestly, like in art, we don't pitch that often. We
Right, so-
working with networks because we find it's too high risk sa amin. But I don't know with your fields.
For my first 5 years in the industry alone, like away from my dad, I relied more on word of mouth and networks. So I've never pitched in the first 5 years. But what was nice in the first 5 years is I was able to develop my portfolio. I knew exactly what my like masteries or skill sets are, what I'm good at. And then from there, I slowly started looking for other clients via pitching. So yeah, I mean, like you don't have to follow my path. I think my path is a little slower, but it builds a lot more confidence kasi on my end. And the path that I want to go. I guess the advice that I could give would be like be flexible, but don't be a walking man or doormat. Don't bend over backwards too much, because especially like fresh grads, I think like what's killing the industry or what's stopping the industry from getting its dignity, I guess, is that there are fresh grads out there who do it for next to nothing, and they're good already. Like these students are amazing at what they're doing, but they don't charge. So I think that's what's degrading, devaluing the industry. Yes.
I think as an artist, especially if you're putting out work, you really have to know your why. Like why are you doing this or why is your work this way? It's part of your personal brand as well. It's part of what's going to set apart from other artists who are doing the exact same thing as you. So the why is what sets everybody apart because everybody has a different why. So you really have to find that and really take that with you wherever you go because that's going to be like even as a freelancer if you go from this to this to this to this, that why is really going to set you apart and fuel your decisions as well. So that's one thing. Another is like don't be afraid to put yourself out there. It's so much easier these days because of social media. It's so easy to show people who you are, what you can do, and your talents and everything. Because of this, because these kids now have social media. There's use it now.
Right.
The tool is there for you guys. I mean, 10 years ago nobody had that. We were all on freelancing sites. Drafting proposal letters and everything.
Word of mouth is right.
Yeah.
Now we're much a lot faster.
With regards to pitching, by the way, I would definitely say pitching is probably one of the most important life skills. Because even like when you're networking, when you're introducing yourself, hi, my name is so and so, I do this, and this. You are pitching yourself. Even if you're not in like a boardroom or something with a PowerPoint presentation, you are pitching yourself. So I think part of that is something that you need to learn how to do, especially if you're thinking of going into freelancing, setting up something by yourself, not just for your work, but for yourself as well. And I think something that helps pitching is knowing your why, knowing your story, because when you're pitching, well, I like to think of it when you're pitching, you're telling a story, and that's how you grip your audience as well. Whether your audience is like CEOs or your agency people approving this next ad or something, it's a story, and people are always gripped, and their attention is held when it's a good story. So you just have to make sure you're telling a good story.
Okay, good. Raffy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you guys learned something.
Thank you.
Thank you.